So first we're just gonna do a raw sienna underpainting, just block in the entire canvas. And then we'll use raw umber, which is darker, to sketch out and map out our individual mountains. This doesn't have to be pretty, it's just a general coat. It's just thinned out a little bit with water. Just normal acrylic consistency. If you just make a sketch beforehand and think dark and light, you know, with each peak, map out the shaded portion and the light portion and think of it that way, then it helps. At least it helps me a lot. I'm just gonna use a little detail brush here and I'm gonna go over my pencil with that raw umber we looked at earlier. And then at that point, you know, we'll have everything pretty well defined and mapped out. And it'll just give me a guideline on where my shaded portions are, where my highlighted portions are, where to add the blues, where to add the lighter gray rock colors, where to add the sky, mist, clouds, things like that. For the clouds and sky, I just want a real light blue, so I'll just get a tiny bit and I'll blend it into that white. And a little bit goes a long way with phthalo blue and white. So there, that nice baby blue right there, that'll be perfect. You know, don't worry too much about blending or detail, anything like that at this point. Just doing basic shapes and colors for this first layer, just real elementary. Right below it, I'm gonna put some white in. So just be a nice little cloud horizon. Here I'm gonna blend up that shadow color I was talking about. And this is gonna be kind of the other way around, you know. For the sky color, we brought a little bit of blue into the bulk of the white, but here we're just gonna bring some white into the bulk of the blue. Lighten it up a bit, but we want it pretty dark. And then with that, we can just block in some of these larger ranges in the background. If that blue is too bright for you, you can just put some of that dark umber that we were using, and you can mix that into that phthalo blue, give it more of an earthy blue for the mountain shadows. Okay, so now let's put in the foreground shadows a little bit better. And we're gonna do that with the raw umber that we originally used, along with some Mars Black. Maybe a touch of that phthalo blue. So here I have umber and black, and I'm just gonna use a touch of black into the umber. Maybe a little bit of that blue. I'm gonna use that just to block in. For the highlight color, we're just gonna use that white and that lighter raw sienna. And I'm just gonna pull some white over and do a 50-50 with that sienna. And then just try to go around those darker shaded regions that we've been putting in. Just trace around them the best you can. Okay, so at this point I've added a second layer just to make things a little easier to see. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did this on this formation and in the foreground here. So I'm just doing the same thing we've been doing, just white with the raw sienna, and that's our highlight color. The raw sienna and the raw umber are midtones, and then the umber with phthalo blue is our shadow color. So I'm going to do the same thing here in this middle formation. And you're probably not going to just make a really nice mountain or rock or cliff painting in one day. It's going to take some time. Foreground, it may be helpful just to start with the shadows, and that'll help map out a lot of the rock texture. I'm going to make the shadows with a bit more black. So it's going to be black, raw umber, and just a little bit of the phthalo blue, but mostly black and umber. But all I'm doing is mapping the shadows, and then I'm going to go in next to the shadows once they're mapped and add highlights to make it look 3D. So that's all we're doing. Same concept everywhere, just different colors and different levels of detail. And you'll probably be able to conceptualize it better and see it all come together if I time-lapse this part. I'm still going to use that raw sienna as our base, and I'm going to use a gray. Instead of just mixing white in, I'm going to use a subtle gray. Here for the darkest shadows, I'm going to use a dark gray with some of that sienna. And this will show those rocks in the shaded portions. I'm going to glaze everything with that dark blue here in the background. I'll set it all back. And now our foreground will pop a little better. While I have that color out, I'm going to use it to add a little bit here too. To darken up some areas that need to be darker. Just a real moist glaze type consistency, and just blend out the edges a little bit. Because I decided to glaze and push everything back and glaze in some shadows here, obviously I gotta go back in now and get our detail back. I'm going to use an airbrush to add some fog around the base of the cliffs here. It's just white, pure white. All right, and that's about it. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this helps with yours, and please subscribe with notifications for more tutorials like this in the future if you liked what you saw. Thanks.